One thing as you go through the interview process is understanding how power shifts during the process. And the good news is it shifts more to you the further you go along in the process. And this diagram here really shows that, how your power or your strength or your desirability grows over time. So if you look at the bottom horizontal axis, this is the interview process, or basically time going by. Maybe you're having multiple interviews. And you see how the employer interest grows for you as you go over time. So if you look in the bottom left side there where it says screening interviews, they don't have much interest in you yet. They've got enough interest that they actually did a screening interview with you, but it's the same interview you're doing with everybody else. It might be short, 15, 20, 30 minutes at most. And they're going to interview a bunch of candidates and then narrow that pool down. So screening interviews, they've got interest, but not a lot of interest. As you go through other types of interviews, behavioral interviews, hiring interviews, blessing interviews, whatever it might be, as you go through the process, you'll get to the point at the far end of the right side, which is when you get the job offer. And that's where your power is at its height, right? They've gone through the process. Maybe they've looked at a couple candidates at the end here, and they decide that you're the one, and they want to give you a job offer. So that's when you have your most power. So that's the time when you got a job offer, and then you start looking at those lessons on negotiating and how to negotiate and really evaluate and understand different job offers and the importance of negotiating the job offer. And that's when your power is at its peak. At the low end there, with the screening interviews, you're interviewing, you're trying to put it on your best position, your best foot forward, all that kind of stuff, but you don't have as much strength or power. If you all of a sudden after the first interview said, you got to pay me X salary or I'm not going to interview anymore, well, they'll probably say, forget it, we won't interview you anymore. Where later on, if you say, well, I want to negotiate and maybe look and see if we can do some things with compensation, they'd be much more willing to listen to you because you're further along on that power curve, how that power shifts throughout the process. So understand where you are on the curve, understand where you're at in the process, and I'll understand that when you get to the end and you get a job offer, now it shifts, because remember, they are looking at how you fit in the organization and whether they want you. Well, at that point, when the job offer comes, they want you. Now you really got to decide, do you want them? And that's part of the whole shifting of things as the power curve goes along. At the end, you'll see how they'll actually try to sell themselves more as an organization, where in the early part, you're really kind of promoting or selling yourself about why you'd be a good fit for the organization. So understand where you are in the power curve, understand where you're in the process, and understand when you're at your strongest and maybe when you're early or at your weakest as you go through the interview cycle.